We're live, all right. And away we go. This meeting of the Hornell Industrial Development Agency is called to order. We do have a quorum. Chairman Parmalee is not with us physically, but he is on the road and joins us via phone. With that, I'd like to start off the meeting by introducing Heather Reynolds, the city planner, and Heather is going to give us a quick presentation, and I'll just kick it over to you, Heather.
Okay, thanks. Dave, can you hear me okay?
Dave, can you hear us okay?
I sure can.
Okay, great. Back in 2016, if you remember, there was an organization called Historic Hornell. They submitted like a phase one to the State Historic Preservation Office to create a historic district, a national historic district. And that district preliminarily includes all Main Street from the highway to Hakes Avenue and Seneca, I believe, all the way to Maple Street. And the state agreed that it was eligible. And so if you do any kind of environmental reviews, any kind of seekers, it always comes up on the map that it's a historic district, but it's not. Because it needs to be taken to the national board to be approved. And so there's some
They
steps.
started a little bit, but never
Yeah.
went down, never got down.
They
the
agreed
road.
that it was eligible.
Right.
They just never certified it. And I think conventional wisdom at that time was that they wouldn't get approval from the building owners because what you need is 50%. Although the mayor and I spoke with someone from the Historic Preservation Office earlier this year, and they said it's more like as long as there isn't 50% of building owners that say no. And that means like an affidavit saying we're opposed to this process. So in order to continue the process, we would need to do a formal survey. There has to be a profile on each building. And I have a document, I'll probably have Margie just email these out to you, that describes each building and why it's contributing to the district. And there'll have to be a write-up on each one. And that's not something you need an architect to do that, not me. And then finally, the state would help us kind of do like a public campaign explaining what it is, how it works. A lot of misinformation comes up when people talk about historic preservation because they think that it obligates them to do certain things, and that's not true. It's only if you are using state or federal money. And even in that case, sometimes it's one of two things. It's just being mindful of the historic characters. And then there is like a full-blown category where you would have to, replace things the way that they want you to replace. But it doesn't prevent you from doing anything with your own money in your own building. They would help us with that process, and we would need somebody to help us with that. Now, the issue that this is kind of a timely issue is that because it's a preliminary and it's on all these maps, anybody who's in the district right now who's trying to get their any kind of historic tax credits is having a difficult time because they're saying, well, you're in a historic district. Why are you applying by yourself? If you're in a historic district, it makes the process a lot quicker. It's not a historic district, so the people are going around and around and around, and some of the DRI projects now are having to go forward without being able to get those tax credits for the owner. So we would need to hire an architect to finish this process for us, to help us finish this process. And while we could apply for grant money to pay for it, we're talking like maybe another year at least, and that's, just to find out if we actually get it. So why I'm here, and I'll pass this out to you, is that I have a quote from Lusk, who helped Historic Hornell previously with the process. They're very familiar, of course, their offices are downtown, as to how much this would cost and detailing the work that would need to be done. Am I forgetting anything else?
No, I think you summarized it pretty well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so this is an economic development tool that we were on track to have all those years ago, but never completed the journey.
Right.
And, especially with all the, the projects and the investment that we're seeing now and, anticipate seeing in the future, this is another, economic development tool that we could have to help out for building owners and hopefully get some projects off the ground.
Right.
One of the things, Heather and I have talked about, over the past year, 6 months or so, especially, is finding ways to entice some of these building owners to do projects that some of these buildings have sat idle. You hear the criticism, out in the general public, boy, this town or this village or this city, look what they're doing on their main street. And, the one of the most frustrating things for me, in my time as mayor is dealing with some of these building owners that simply don't want to do projects. I mean, I won't name names, but there's some building owners that are perfectly content just doing nothing. And then nothing happens. But as time goes on and ownership changes or even attitudes change, I think it's smart for us to make sure that we have every tool in the toolbox available and not limit ourselves. The Main Street program, we're looking at applying for that again.
We're doing a Main Street grant again this year, and I was just going to add that we do get grant money to assist people, but some of the deferred maintenance, especially when you're getting the second and third floors where the roof is leaked down to the second floor for years and years, even grant money can't necessarily help somebody make a building into, viable units, whether it's housing or commercial. So for them to be able to get a 20% historic tax credit on top of that grant might make the difference of a viable project.
And this could parlay nicely into the Tuttle and Rockwell building down the road as well.
Absolutely.
They make every business owner their building becomes gets historic designation. Because if they do, and they get government funds, will tell you what you do and what you can't.
Right. Well, but that's already true. So like projects that we did with the DRI, SHPO already kicks in. Yeah. But they won't be able to get tax credits. So, why not?
You already have the regulation, but you don't have the benefit. So at least this way you still have the regulation, but you'd have the tax credit. So there's a benefit too.
But if you're using your own.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were going to do something with your own money, you can do whatever you want. You can rip out all the beautiful details of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's your priority. And yeah.
Do as a business owner.
Can't take the sprinklers or anything like that. You can't do stuff like,
Well, that's
can't do stuff against
You
local
can, but
codes.
they have to approve it, yeah. But you just have to submit, it takes longer. You have to submit the plans to them. They review it. We're doing it right now with the Federation Building, or not the Federation Building, the warehouse. If you've ever been in there, I mean, there's really not, it's just a big open space and they want to switch their sprinklers out. They're pre-existing. So it's not like they're putting something in that's going to deter from the architecture, but SHPO has to sign off on it. So we had to send them the plans. We had to tell them what materials we're using, if we're drywalling over anything. And then they just send us a letter and say, yep, that's fine.
So this actually just gives you the designation where it's in writing.
That's right. And it protects you too from, like when the highway came in and took down Union Square Park, like it's, if something that the government was doing that comes close to your building, it protects you from that as
All the
well.
way down to Main to Hakes Avenue.
Main Street, yep. Yep, like I said, I'll have Margie send you out the preliminary report that they set up and it lists all the
Okay,
addresses.
so we were asking the ID agency on that.
Yes, please. So you can talk about that and you can think about that. I'm not expecting any answer, but just something to consider.
So for our building owners, they're gonna have a chance to get some tax credits
Yes.
and there's grant money available.
There's always grant money available, not with this, but
There's,
And then we were gonna do more with the DRI, right? We had that pile of money that we were gonna do for
Small grant.
small grant fund, which we are doing.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here for these folks to,
I think anything you do to make it better downtown is an economic development project.
Sure.
People are looking. You know, I agree with that. It's how the downtown look means a lot to the businesses we have now, our businesses coming in, means a lot, just like schools and everything else.
Sure.
It's a big deal. So I don't have any, but I think we can talk about it. I'd have to make sure we can fund it and we're within the rules.
Sure.
If the board agrees.
Sure.
Okay, so you can get the details for the old report for us?
Yes, I'll have them. I wasn't sure, what you all knew about this before I came over, so I wasn't sure what I should make copies for you. So it was easier just to send it out digitally and then everybody can have it and Dave will have it in his mailbox when he gets back.
But think of it in terms of, you own a building, you want to do a project, you're looking at, potential, grant funding, whether it's New York, the Main Street program, whether it's a Restore New York project. And, maybe the financials, maybe you're close, but the financials just aren't there. But this would be another tool to entice someone. Hey, there's tax credits available. Could that be the catalyst for that person that's on the fence to, get them over and get that project going? So, I think you use all the tools in the toolbox that are available to you. And this is something that's been, it was looked at, I don't know, 20 years or more.
Yeah, it's been around, the discussion's been around since I've been here and that was 2002. But they actually, it looks like in October of 2016 is when they submitted this preliminary evaluation. So,
Were there any downsides back then?
no, I think it was just a handful of people that had a kind of a misinformation campaign that were all sort of gossiping about it and no, we don't want that and getting each other riled up. And so I think the IDA
It's 2016. I'm thinking, I never even heard of it at that point in time. I've heard of the group before. I
yeah,
haven't heard about anything like that. And,
I don't know if it came from HPG or if the IDA but they were, you're always in touch with all the business and building owners and the general feeling was this isn't, if we put this to the final test, people are going to say no. And that's that's a waste of our time. But they're really good about, I'll have to do a list of the contact information for everybody, if the building's in your name and Michelle's name, it would go to both of you and they do a mailing campaign as well. The state notifies each person just in case we get people to say, well, I didn't see it on the city website or I didn't see it in the newspaper.
yeah, I was just trying to think so preservation district, what are we preserving and what does that hinder any forward progress if we want to tear a building down or do something different? What's the overarching goal of a preservation district compared to a town that doesn't have one? What does it do for the residents and for the business owners? What does it do for you to have the preservation? I don't even know. Yeah.
So I would say it just forces the community to take a second look at any kind of renovations to make sure that they meet the character of the downtown.
Which we already do through the
Planning board,
planning
yeah.
board because of the historic overlay district that we have. So
Yeah.
certain parts of the city, which would certainly include the downtown and sense into the neighborhoods to a degree.
Right. And create some design guidelines. So if you come in to codes and get a building permit for a sign, there's going to be restrictions on, what kind of materials you can use and what color it's going to be and what size it's going to be. Not that specific, but just, it can't be a neon flashing sign downtown.
So it fits into the character of the
Yeah.
downtown.
Yeah, just doesn't take away from the rest of it. And I also have the third document is an actual packet from the state, describing hey, you're thinking about doing this. Here's, the frequently asked questions. So I'll send that to you as well.
The thing about the Landman building is going to have a significant structure
Mhm.
change, and would that deter or does it enhance what they're going to attempt to do? Would there be a deterrent for the owner? He's looking at, all right, I'm going to put in X number of millions of dollars. I'm getting money from the DRI. What's the benefit of the preservation historical preservation designation to the owner? What is that? What
He's
does it bring?
looking to.
Tax credits, I see.
4 to 6 weeks, so he'll
Yeah.
beat you to the, no matter what.
Yeah, he's actually, his project is the reason why we were kind of alerted because he was having a hard time. He was trying to get his building registered for the tax credits.
Right.
Yeah.
And we kind of went around and around with them.
So
So,
if we already had it in place today, he would.
yeah,
be
he'd already
all over
be,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So is there a time frame on the work of the architect or?
did they have a schedule or do you have a timeline of when we need to hire them?
We have a timeline actually for both, so he wants probably to know right away, I would guess, right?
They just kind of left it in our lap, we'll consider it and, just circle back with us.
We have,
I think
another meeting.
it's not like they don't have work. They've got work to
We got
do.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
You get off.
Yeah, I'll get this out to you and you guys can think about it and you all, I'm pretty sure everybody here has my email. So if you have a question that comes up later, just ask me.
Okay.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank
No,
you.
I am. Okay, have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ah,
You can stay and observe the meeting. if you want.
can I? I love meetings. I don't go to enough of them.
Yeah, neither do I.
I have one at 3 and one at 4, so I gotta go.
See ya. Have a good one.
Alright.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think everyone knows Pat Zuber, our
Yeah.
actually represents us from Butcher. He is gonna present the drafts audits. We're gonna do it right this year instead of run out of time where we have to approve the final draft or final audit. So he will present the draft audit and then finalize it to be put in the Paris report. We got to submit by the end of
Yeah, and I brought a couple of, like another handout, just a PowerPoint that just summarizes the 2 different audit reports. So you do have copies of the audit reports. So if you do have any questions on them, I can certainly
He brought the corporation too, right?
respond to them.
So we'll go through this and we'll do the corporation right now, so you don't have to hang around.
Yep, and the corporation's part of the handout. of
Oh, it's part of
the
the
package.
same handout.
Yeah, it's
That's 2 pages.
pages in, so, yeah, hopefully, yep, so, and this summary is just a quick summary of some of the key financial information. We did issue an unqualified opinion, no material weaknesses or significant deficiency. That's really where you want to be. But again, the organization, the agency continues to be in good financial position. As you know, you've had a lot of activity over the past 2 years, certainly with the park project that went on and now is basically completed. So part of some of the financial results are attributed to that, and we'll see that in a minute. But overall, you have your total assets on the top half of the page, a little over $16 million. You have a lot going on with this balance sheet, primarily, the receivables. You've got some flow-through pilot receivables. You've got some shovel-ready project receivables. You've got a lease receivable. So the current portion of the lease receivable, and then you have a non-current asset. That's the long-term portion of the lease receivable. So part of the new accounting standards are that if you have a lease agreement out there that we have to calculate, what that receivable value is from the different parties. So that's just part of that calculation. And what you basically do is you book a receivable, a deferred revenue, if you will, and then you amortize it over the life of the lease. So that's the big thing. But you do see a big change in the receivable. Primarily, that's the pilot payment that gets flown through from Alstom. That's the big piece. The money came in earlier this year, and it was paid out earlier this year. So again, you see that in both the receivable and the liability. So both are down as a result of that. Again, a couple of the other items, just to note the capital assets. Obviously, that went up. That continues to be the investment in the park project. I always say it wrong, but it's Shamunk Park.
Shawna.
Shamunk Park. So again, you see the capital assets going up there. That again relates to that. And then the leased assets, again, that's part of that standard that we have to implement. Not only do we have to recognize the lease receivables, but if you have any long-term lease liabilities, we have to recognize an asset and then a corresponding liability that gets amortized over the life of the assets. So just to be aware of that. Again, on the middle half of the page, we talked about the current liabilities. So again, nothing too unusual there. Again, the big change relates to the flow through of the pilots. Couple of the other items that you see in the non-current liabilities, again, part of the different leases that you have. In addition to that, you record a liability relating to retiree health. So you provide health insurance for some former employees and former employee spouses. So that liability has to be calculated and adjusted, and we'll see the impact of that in a minute. And then the other piece relates to the New York State pension system. Okay, as you know, you're part of the pension system. So again, you have to recognize an asset and or a liability for the pension system. They're about 90% funded, so you have a small liability there. Again, that's why you see some of the deferred inflows and outflows. They also relate to that. But overall, you can see your net position from last year to this year. You went from a little over $10 million to about $10.7 million. Okay, so obviously a significant portion of that is tied up in the capital assets you have. So it's 7.4. So it's again basically those land and so forth, the investments you have in the lands and the buildings. So again, it's really not cash, it's not available to spend. But then you do have about $3.3 million in that unrestricted category. Again, you can see that did go up. Again, primarily it's relating to some of the grants that you received that you were able to allocate into the project. Okay. But again, overall, at the end of the year, in a pretty good financial position. Again, your unrestricted net assets going up about $200,000 from last year to this year. Okay. Any questions on that snapshot?
I just have one. Do you think, as far as the overall health of the organization, do you see that is it flat line? Are we staying the same? Are we improving? Have you seen any material improvements saying, okay, yeah, we're in the right direction?
Yeah, good question. So if we look at the next page, I think you kind of see it a little bit on this next page when you take a look at basically the net income, right? So you see overall you had I've mentioned that the assets went up about $700,000. Well, when you just take a look at your net income, you've got operating income and loss. It's about $61,000. So you eroded some of the fund balance on the operating side. You did have some gain on the non-operating, which is primarily the interest that you're receiving from the leases so you really have to kind of combine them. So overall, you had a positive results of about $95,000. Okay. Where you see the big change are in those contributed capital and the grant income. And again, that again relates to the project. So globally, right, you generated about $100,000 positive growth based on what you're doing. Okay. Versus last year's about 123. So you're down just a little bit from last year to this year. But again, when you pull out those contributed capitals, which really won't continue on, you're still in pretty good shape in terms of generating, positive returns.
Net income actually includes depreciation, amortization too, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So money out the door.
Correct. Yeah. So you do want to factor out that piece of it as well. So, okay. And that's what we kind of pulled out down at the bottom half of the page. Again, the primary income is the rental income. So about $902,000. About $880,000 relates to rental income itself, and then some miscellaneous income there. The operating expenses and revenue. So primarily the larger categories of the operating, obviously your salary and benefits. You didn't have any consulting fees this year. So again, you see that reduction there. Depreciation and amortization, they're really the 2024 numbers should be 397. We only included amortization there, or depreciation, not the amortization piece as well. So really it should be 397 this year compared to 374. Again, as you add the value of that project and you depreciate it, that's why you see the depreciation up a little bit this year. The insurance, again, 47 to 120. And the reason for that is the impact of the retiree health calculation. because it goes out several years, and you have to take the present value, but you also have to factor in a discount rate, which is based on industry trends. That went up primarily because of inflation. So that's why you see that number going up there. Again, that's basically what you've committed to individuals. So again, that increase primarily is the OPEB. The other insurances were relatively consistent from one year to the next. And again, the outside services, the big piece there is the $90,000 agreement you have with the city relating to maintenance. So again, those are the big pieces. And again, the contributed capital relates to the park improvements that you receive in the federal portion. Okay. So again, overall, you continue to be in good financial position. The parks project, as you've kind of come to the end of that, probably kind of gives Mike a little chance to catch his breath a little bit before you move on to the next big project. But again, you have a lot going on here. Okay.
I know this only looks back, 24, 23, but going back, I'm trying to, remember back, but I think we've been pretty steady the last several years. I don't remember seeing any, significant peaks and valleys. And
Seems like we generate about that 200,000 a year, if I recall. Go back.
I'm gonna, there's things I'm gonna discuss with you. We have a lot of capital investment that we have committed to making. How we finance it, I don't know, probably borrowing big end using money. But we all ought to be aware of that. What we committed to that will make a change to our financials. But I think we all agree.
Projects out of us.
Yeah, we're not here to save money. We're here to
Put it to work in the community, yeah.
But I'm, like I said, I'm not one that likes to take your capital down.
Yeah, and one of the things, Mike, that's going to change going forward, and I didn't really highlight it, but in the audit report, there's a management discussion and analysis. And in 2 years from now, you're going to require to enhance what you currently do. So, and really it's the future factors that will be impacted. And they're going to want you to talk more about things like that. So if you have made some significant commitments to capital investments that you've acted on, right? So you've approved a $3 million project, you would want to talk about that in this MD&A. So that's going to be something that changes going forward. So certainly that's an area where you can kind of highlight that, well, yes, we're in a good financial position. We have, some cash available for our future investments. Here's what our current plan is, right? And it should be something, whether you have a written plan, ideally, if you have a written plan, then you can put that right in this document. If you have things that are part of your approved budget, those are other things that you could include or they want you to include in this MD&A. So what they really said is they want this MD&A to be more of a tool that you can explain the impact of what you're doing much clearer. So the reader of the financial statements doesn't actually have to look at the numbers. They can read the 3 or 4 page MD&A and say, wow, okay, now I understand what you're doing when it relates to the financial impact or the economic impact that you're looking for.
I still got to bring this year's, but that's just text. It's not numbers. I still got changes to make to
And
that.
a few updates you want to make. Okay, yeah, and again, this is in draft, so we can tweak it as we need to. So, okay, because it is your MD&A, and then there's the numbers in it. We have to kind of make sure they agree with the financial statements, but the wording and stuff really ends up being.
I know in the last few years, the numbers changed because of law changes. I mean, your long-term liability went to triple.
Yeah.
Because you got into those long-term pensions and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, when you see these pension obligations and the OPEB obligations and the swings that have happened because of inflation, really that's primary, and even it impacted your calculation for OPEB. So those long-term obligations, the lease liabilities, so all of those play a role in every municipal organization. And when you implement them, there's some things relating to sick days that don't really impact you that are effective for municipalities 12/31. So your towns and your counties is December 31st year ends, there's some significant changes there relating to sick days if you offer it primarily it's mainly going to hit those organizations that have police as part of their organization. That's the major category where we're seeing an impact in 12/31, but the schools will be impacted in June. So, but that'll be a little bit more of a lift than I think folks initially thought. So. Okay. So then the other, next couple pages are just the corporation. A couple of the other, we did have a management letter just talking a little bit about the documenting the review of the bank reconciliation, and then just making sure we're monitoring the leases. I think there was a lease payment that got skipped, and we just want to encourage you to send out a second notice when payments aren't made timely and monitoring the long-term leases. So, okay. And again, we have that document. And then the other, do you have any questions on the IDA at all?
I think you answered all the questions, I think.
All right. And then the other, kind of the continuation of this is the IDC. So again, the Industrial Development Corporation that you have, and again, had a lot more going on in there the past few years than the previous few years. As you know, this organization was created really for those not-for-profit type pilots and things of that nature to utilize. And again, there's limitations in how frequently you see and are able to utilize some of this, but you were able to utilize some of this corporation to help with some of the small business loans and emergency loans that you were able to utilize over the past couple years. So there's been certainly a little more activity in there. And really that's the majority of the activity. You do recognize some few minor transactions relating to the annual dinner that you offer and the volunteer work that the folks do here for that are recognized there. But primarily it's the loans. And again, you had about $38,000 in loans last year. It's down to about 35. So you had some folks paying on the loans. Last year we did recognize just we'll call it an allowance for non-payments of loans. That didn't change. That stayed relatively consistent from last year to this year. And that's why you see the decrease in the program services. We had $14,000 last year down to $6,200 this year, to $7,000 of that last year, relating to setting aside money for loans that may not be repaid. Okay. So just a conservative approach there, but overall, again, you see the limited ways to generate income in this corporation is really the challenge. But again, you do have some dollars relating to the different loans that are coming in. Okay. Again, really nothing else too unusual as it relates to the IDC. Okay. Any questions on that?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on. I mean, primarily it's the loan balances and so forth. And I know it's got.
Are we at the end of that for the
I
loan?
think there's 5 left that haven't completely paid them off yet.
How many do we do?
There's a lot.
15?
Yeah, between 15 and 20, I think, yeah. At one point, that
If I remember, it was like 15 or 18.
I thought 18 was on the month.
It's been a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of that was a 2-year. Didn't we all do them all for 2 years?
Now they got extended. I think they had them out 30 months.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And there's 5
Had a little
open.
bit, as the pandemic continued, it kicked it back here.
But I'll be honest with you, I have to write letters that let the people know you gotta start paying, you gotta turn it over for collection. Because I've addressed them numerous times.
I think if you start sending the letters and then
For some
kick to the
reason,
next level.
they always thought they'd be forgiven. I've made it clear now.
Oh, I mean, I think this fund could be of value going forward.
There's a lot of money in it. There's a couple hundred in it, but as Tom said, there is no way to re-energize the corporation unless the IDA gives them money. Then you have to find out if But I don't think we want to get to that point. We shouldn't have. We do still have quite a bit of money in there. But we've got to decide what.
Yeah, we started out with 250, right?
What's that? Like that farm money?
250.
It was,
Before our time.
it was some grant money that came in and then
I don't know if it was an entire.
Yeah.
budget, But I'd have to go back.
That was-
200 plus was
There
grant,
was,
yeah.
there was grant too, and it was,
So yeah, you'd be the only one that would have
it
been.
was from the depot.
Yeah.
HUD.
Usually you
So
get
we,
those
that's
grants.
the only reason we
and
could put
they-
it into the.
If you get it in, you all back out.
Yeah.
It's very vows, 'cause it's-
We did look, Jim provided a pretty good description before we started the loan process. And so at that point, I remember understanding it was how it came into the organization. That should be somewhere in the minutes or whatever, but yeah. And we did get an answer
It
to-
was about 250.
Yeah, and we did get an answer that we could go ahead and loan it out at the beginning of the pandemic. We started doing it before anybody else did and it worked out well.
I know the county at one point when I was on the board, we got a substantial amount of money. And frankly, it was TTA that borrowed it, but it was a loan. And it was, as it was paid out, it was loaned out again, and it goes away. And your income off it is your interest, but the principal, it's either in a note receivable or cash. So and that was a special grant for this area, and I know we got a sizable chunk at the county idea. And TTA had one, and there was others that got involved in it, but it worked well because it supplied capital for these businesses. But Sal paid it back too, so, and then it was loaned out again, and it just revolved.
Recirculating.
Very good.
Tom, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a good afternoon.
Safe travels.
What direction you going in?
Back up north.
You can stay for the rest of the meeting too if you want.
I get that offer more than you know.
Thank you.
We'll see you. Have a good one.
Okay, those are the two presentations, and with that, we will go to the secretary's report from John. Anything of note, John, you want to go over?
No, I'd accept the motion for the secretary's report.
Is there a motion? Motion by Rick, second by Ed. Any questions on the secretary's report? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
All ayes, thank you. You also have in your packet the treasurer's report. Is there a motion to approve said report? So moved. Moved by Rick. Motion by Rick, second by John Carbone. Other than anything, any items you want to highlight in the treasurer's report?
Nope, pretty much, yeah, we're good to go, yeah.
Pretty straightforward this month. Thank you. We have the motions. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All ayes, passed. Are there any committee reports? We have audit, I believe.
Yes. In December, out of the operating account, we paid out $56,768.14.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the audit report?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ed, second by Rick. Any questions on the audit report? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
All ayes, passed. And that brings us, I think that's the only committee report we have. That takes us to the executive director's report.
Okay, I'd just like to do a quick executive session before we go to my report and the resolutions.
Motion to go into executive session.
Or do we need to talk to the legal matter? Or?
So one of them's legal matter and the other's property.
So, motion to enter into executive session to discuss property acquisition.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ed, second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
All ayes. We are now in executive session. Motion by Rick. John, all in favor?
Aye.
All ayes. We are now in regular session once again. And with that, we'll go right, we'll wait for Margie.
We're back, yep.
We're back in regular session, Margie.
Good job.
Good on your end? Okay.
Thanks.
We will go into the resolution portion of the meeting, and the first motion is to accept the audit as presented by Mengel, Metzger, and Barr. Motion by Rick, second by John. Any questions on the audit? We had the presentation earlier in the meeting. Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
All ayes, passed. Second resolution is to award the Thatcher Street Sidewalk Project to Bacaro Excavating LLC at the price of $17,900. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion by Ed. Second by Rick. Any questions on this resolution? We talked about this, over the past couple of years. Nice to, maybe longer. I don't know. We've been talking about it for a long time. It'll be nice to finally get this project done.
Yeah,
And really complete that sidewalk. So
Excellent.
we have the motions. Any questions or comments? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
All ayes, passed. And the third resolution is a motion to approve the sales tax exemption not to exceed $100,000 for Real Clean the car wash project located on Hornell Street Extension, Hornell, New York. So this is a car wash right off from 36 on Hornell Street that Justin Broderick is taking on. So it'll be a nice addition to the city. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by John Carbone. Second by Rick Andalina.
The only thing in the motion is this could be revisited and adjusted as we have the project.
Information.
All the project information is complete.
Yeah, so as the project develops,
Yeah.
we'll review. We're still in the infancy
Very
of
early
the project. The site work is being conducted right now. There's been a lot of cleanup. But as he gets into the project, the cost will go up. So this is the first step, just a kind of the jumping off point. Then we'll review it and increase that as we need to. So we have the motions. Are there any questions or comments? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
All ayes, passed, and that concludes the resolution portion of the meeting. Is there any new business or any old business?
The only other the Tunnels building, we actually got some renderings on that. I'm waiting for the pricing. At the meeting at the end of the month, John has seen the renderings. We don't have any pricing. We're looking at other things. I have to get every aspect of how to finish the building.
Yeah, the renderings that Mike and I have seen, they look really nice. It brings it back very close to the original style of the building, the original feel. There's two different versions. One includes the tower. If you look at really old photos, you'd be able to see that there was a tower on the one side. One version includes the tower and kind of a pitched roof adjacent to the tower. The other just kind of keeps it more squared off. But as
I
Mike,
will forward the renderings. There's no numbers on it because I don't have them yet.
as Mike said, we're just waiting for those to be costed out so we have an idea of which each design will look like. So,
That's all I have.
okay. Any new business?
I just want new business, I guess we put it under here, is that the housing project, I think that it deserves a meeting in itself to get caught up on where we're at on some of the information that Mike,
Yeah, you mean on the hill?
yeah,
We
Yeah,
had,
that's great.
yeah, I had somebody working on it. They weren't doing it. I have a consulting engineer now working on it. Because there's more to it than, and we actually had pricing on doing so many. Well, I had one guy who submitted half acre houses and full acre houses. It's his idea, but it doesn't include everything. The consulting engineer I had was looking at fire hydrants, lighting, everything, placement of it. So we will have a more detailed RFP. I had a company, they haven't done it. And the guy does a lot for us, so he's very busy, and I have him work. So I told him I've got to go here.
Yeah, as we're getting,
Yeah, we need the layout, right? We need the design.
yeah,
layout.
I think
But we
we're
do,
approaching
yeah, we do have,
April here and
we do have one, Labella has submitted a layout.
You said that was all squared off though and.
It's regular road, it's 2 levels of road, if you're gonna try to put them on half acres. If you're gonna try to put them on acres, the other thing is you gotta take the number of houses and the infrastructure cost changes. Believe it or not, if you do acres, the infrastructure costs a lot less. You don't need as much. You're not taking the sewer in every house.
right.
But there's things I forgot, and actually our consultant reminded me, I'm sure you want to live. So there's a lot of things you got to think about. I never gave fire hydrants, I never gave that a thought. But you
Well, can we
need,
set up a meeting with this guy,
we can,
like right when he gets back to you?
we can.
'Cause that'd be nice to sit down and see the renderings and be able to ask him questions.
Well, the rendering guy is
I would
one
think,
guy.
you know, if we're bringing someone new in, then, you know, they'll want to pick our brains
Yeah.
to get an idea of what our expectations are, right?
But what the
As far
consultant,
as like, you know, design. and
he's right
layout.
now looking, here's what you gotta have, but you're right. But how many houses you want or how many lots you want, because it changes it. But no matter how many you gotta have this, you gotta get in there. You gotta deal with the utility companies, NYSEG and National Fuel. You gotta have street lights and everything you gotta have. But,
Do you think we can set that up soon or?
he's working on it now. I think we can, I'm not sure by the end of the month, but he can. He's only been on it a week.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
tick-tock goes the clock, right? I mean, we want to try
The
to,
other thing we've got to
I told you these
decide.
things don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
yeah, they don't, but I think we've been sort of,
The other thing we've got to
Well, yeah,
decide
yeah.
is who's gonna,
Moving along.
because if a developer is gonna pay the thing, he may want to pay it by the lot. I think we could have more than one developer up there. If we're gonna sell the houses, you've got a lot of interest. We may say,
I mean, it might be smart just to parcel out,
I think
get the infrastructure and
from a
parcel out
cost, from
properly.
a cost standpoint, I think you're 100% right. I never had a clue. When we were looking at the grant had a lot to do with the amount of houses you put. So it was more than we ever wanted to put there. But for that one, the infrastructure costs, what were they, 1.6? It was a lot for 20 houses. In 20 houses, you're cramming them in. But for that grant, we had to have a quantity and to get the grant. We've also been assured there's going to be more grants like that. This one, though, we were competing with a developer who was building
Ready
a
to go.
94 unit.
Well, and that particular
so
project
motivated.
that, you know, the county was going to award, that project has been in development for,
Yeah. Yeah,
better part of a decade.
since 18.
So, you know, our project is still relatively in its infancy and was, you know, just developed.
But we were considered, because the county
Yeah.
called me, we were considered, but here's why the other guy got, and it made sense.
The size and scope of the other
Yeah.
project is much
It
larger
makes sense.
as far as living units is concerned.
impactful.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, to see what that layout looks like and then, you know, is
You know, I'd like to see, you know, when we do have that meeting, you know, obviously whoever that is, whoever the engineer designer is, he'll, you know, want to know what we're looking for in the parameters. But I'd like to see someone with a little creativity too.
Mhm.
You know, okay, here it is. Here's the topography. You know,
You want it to look like a
what do
development,
you,
not suburbia.
yeah, what do you envision?
Exactly.
How can we make some of these parcels, you know, unique and attractive where it doesn't look like it's just some, you know, we just cleared it out and, you know, cookie cuttered it in.
But the
I'd like
three,
to see it have some
the
character.
three architectural firms that showed interest, they went up there with me. And that's exactly what they did. They said, well, you don't need, actually, and they looked at it for minimal site improvement. Well, it's flat there, you can put one there, and it looked good.
Mhm.
You know, you could put one here, you don't gotta take the hill out because there's enough areas where you can make nice lawns. But I'll tell you, the view is unreal. It's a beautiful area. Because I go up there and just look down into the valley.
But I don't know that every parcel needs to be the same. I think you
No, and
They
they,
don't want it
mix
to
and
be.
match
but
up there.
Right.
yeah, the three, not one of them had it like that. They had their idea and I'm thinking, yeah, this makes sense.
Mhm.
Because to me initially, I thought we had a road.
I agree with Rick. You don't want it to be the cookie cutter, everyone looks the same, they might change the color. We want it to be.
Well, you go along the valley and you look at any of these small outcroppings of developments.
Yeah.
That you'd consider nice. That's exactly what it is. A different house. It's kind of
Yeah,
offset. It's
different
not,
styles.
it's not a
Yeah.
grid.
That's why when we were initially, when we were talking about this, somebody gave us the information on 3 or 4 different style houses that I think, again, it gets you away from that cookie cutter look.
Yeah.
And if the lot sizes are, different, that's
Well,
only
I think
going to enhance it.
The house portion is step 3, where right now I think we need to be focused on property layout and infrastructure, period. And then we can decide,
No, then,
do we have someone develop all of it? Do we talk to local contractors, which in my opinion might be the best route?
well, you show them a map.
Let them
and you-
talk to their people.
You show the builder the map and.
This is your square if you
Where
want.
lots are.
Let them decide with square footage, everything.
But I've been approached by numerous people that said,
Oh, I think they'd go
I'd like
fast.
to build a house up here.
Mhm.
But all they talk, you're gonna sell this land, I'd like to get a
Yeah.
lot and build a house. At least 5 people.
I don't think we're gonna have any problem.
No, not at all.
So, but I thought you could do it 2 seconds and the mayor educated me. No, you can't. He was right. You just can't.
It all takes time.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's definitely.
I'd say let's try to make
Set
up
up
a
a
meeting.
priority to get that
Right away.
meeting on the calendar.
I'd like that.
Okay, that's all I have for the regular IDA meeting. Is there any other older new business you want to discuss? We covered that. With that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Rick, second by John. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All ayes. We are adjourned. We do have an IDC meeting right after, so we'll go right into that. Oh, there goes Margie.
Go ahead, I'll take it.
Okay. This meeting of the Hornell you okay, Margie? Okay. This meeting of the Hornell Industrial Development Corporation is called to order. We, member Floyce had to leave, Commissioner Parmalee, but Chairman Parmalee is still on the road, but we do have a quorum of 3. Let's see, is there a motion to approve the secretary's report and minutes from the last meeting? Motion by Rick, second by John. Any questions on secretary's reports or minutes? Being none, all in favor? Aye. All ayes, thank you. You also have the treasurer's report in your packet for your reading pleasure. I'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Second by John, second by Rick. Any questions on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All ayes. Committee reports, we do have one from audits. I don't believe we have any other committee reports. Anything you want to cover on that, John?
Yes, out of the IDC account in December, we had payouts of $1,300. And in January, we had payouts of $6,079.10.
Thank you for that report. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. I will second the motion. Any questions on that audit report? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
All ayes, thank you. Executive Director's report.
I will wait until the next meeting.
So
The only thing is the resolution
Yeah,
approving
so-
of it.
So the only resolution we have is to accept the audit. So motion to accept the audit as presented by Mengel, Messer, and Barr. Motion by John, second by Rick. Any questions on the audit? It's pretty straightforward. All in favor?
I had
All ayes, approved. Any old business? New business? Motion to adjourn. Motion by John, second by Rick. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. All ayes.